Hello and welcome to this game review. We'll have a look at a 10+0 game, and as usual, my disclaimer regarding 10+0 games would be to play longer time controls, as 10+0 is basically blitz. Instead, I would suggest 15+10 or something even longer to improve our chess. So the opening here was a bit strange, started as some kind of stone wall. Black is developing his pieces quite weirdly, developing the knights before trying to castle. But I guess this is fine. e5, fighting for the center. White takes, but this just lets black recapture the d6 pawn, and now the f4 pawn was traded for the one on d6, which gives black better control of the center. White has not developed any of his pieces. He's behind in development, which is a bad sign when we're playing white, and black is a bit better. c3, and now black decides on e4, which is quite a committal move. The pawn on e4 might become a bit weak, but if it doesn't, then it is quite useful to prevent white's development. Bishop c2, and here black makes a mistake with g6, and the reason this is a mistake is because the bishop is useless on g7, as the only way to attack this point on d4 is with c5, but even if we recapture it here, d4 will still always be defended by a pawn, which will make this bishop completely useless on this diagonal. Here it won't be enough to attack e3. The bishop should just develop to g6. Black should be trying to attack on the king side, as that is where he has more space, and that is where his advantage lies. And also, when we have the ability to develop a piece in one move, we shouldn't do it in two moves. This is a big waste of time. Even here, the bishop doesn't belong on g7. Black should at least should put it on d6. And g6 is not entirely useless, as it helps with stuff like h5 and h4 to again attack this king. But bishop g7, queen e7. So black's moves are a bit strange, but now he has sensed that this pawn is weak. Though unfortunately, now that black has wasted so much time developing this bishop, it is too late to defend this pawn. 92 castles in c5, so black is playing actively. But unfortunately this bishop is not going to get open. White picks up this pawn, and white is a bit better, but due to white's bad start to the game, black has some compensation due to the white's bad development and the weak e3 pawn. So b6, black is trying to develop, which is correct. Bishop b7, and white plays a bad move e4. The reason it's bad is that now this unleashes the bishop, and now had the black taken on d4, and plays something like rook a8. White's center pawns are looking good, but they are very weak, and after something like knight c5, knight e6, or knight e5 to c6, white's pawns are quite weak. But after rook a8, this is a mistake, because black should have involved the capture on d4, because now this bishop is closed due to the pawn on c3, and had these pawns been traded, the bishop would at least be looking at b2, which would not allow white to develop his dark squared bishop. Here knight f6 is played, and black doesn't really have enough compensation for the pawn, and after something like bishop g5, white is in the driving seat. Instead c4 was played, and this is a mistake because it opens up this diagonal, and now this bishop is not blocked, also weakens the square. As we will see, this will become handy. So now black puts his pieces in the center. To knight e5 is a mistake because it traps our bishop, and had white found knight e2, I think black would be close to losing here. But here white makes a mistake, which is quite typical at this level. White probably noticed that this pawn on c4 is attacked, so automatically he defended it. But this is the wrong mindset to have in chess. Whenever something that we have is attacked, our first question shouldn't be how can we defend, it should be what can I attack. And knight e2 is clearly a lot better than b3. And here bishop c8 is played, black is improving his pieces, bishop h6, and here black makes the same mistake. He sees his rook is attacked, so he moves it, but a lot better was knight g4 attacking the bishop and the h2 square, with the point that after bishop takes f8, queen h4, black is completely winning because this is checkmate, and white has to give up his queen. If he plays h3, queen g3 threatens checkmate, and if white takes here, this is checkmate as well. So the variation itself isn't entirely difficult, but it just requires a shift in mindset and a more active attitude towards playing chess. But rook f8 is a big blunder and a big miss. Now queen d2, now knight g4, now this is allowed, h3, and black picks up the dark squared bishop. So now black definitely has enough compensation for the pawn, as this bishop is now very strong. Bishop g7, bishop e5, and after queen h4, black sacrifices the f7 pawn, which is the correct move. White shouldn't take it, knight e2 is the only chance, but instead white takes it, and now black has two threats. One is the knight, the other one is bishop h3, and unfortunately it's too late for white to handle both of them, and white is lost. Knight e2, bishop takes h3, and this leads to checkmate. This doesn't require much calculation, but if white takes, then this is forced mate. Instead white plays queen f3, black plays bishop g4, which is good enough. It's marked as a mistake, but of course it's winning. Bishop g2 is also good enough, with the point that this is checkmate, and either way black is completely winning. But in the opening, black could have played better had he not gone for the stereotypical way to develop here with knight d7. Here black should try to attack on the king side.